Hello, this is Dr. David Bilstrom from the International Autoimmune Institute and the Autoimmune Lifestyle. And this is Did You Know? So today we're going to be talking about childhood trauma and risk of hospitalization because of an autoimmune disease. So our clinical scenario today is here you are as a clinical practitioner, and a woman who is 32 years of age comes in, and she has two small children, and she has been identified as having a positive ANA, an autoimmune antibody, and it's called the anti-nuclear antibody, ANA. Now, technically, this may not be an autoimmune disease yet. So a lot of times what people are told is, oh, you're attacking your own DNA, your own nuclear material. We'll just wait around a few years. Eventually you'll start attacking other nuclear proteins, and then we'll be able to tell you if you have lupus or rheumatoid arthritis or any number of different autoimmune diseases. Well, I like to call this, because there's no other name, Bilstrom's nuclearitis. It's an autoimmune disease attacking the nuclear material. But instead of waiting till it gets worse, let's take care of it right away. So this patient comes in, she's got the positive ANA, she's been told something's going on autoimmune, but nobody's quite sure, but they just told her to wait and see what happens. Well, she's not really comfortable with that. Now, she's had some fair amount of stress. She had a divorce, she has two young children. It's very stressful for her, very stressful for the kids. Well, as the practitioner, you get to tell her, did you know that when there's childhood trauma, then you're going to much more likely end up with being hospitalized with an autoimmune disease. So we have talked before about if there's 4 or more adverse childhood events, divorce, separation, substance abuse in the house, verbal, physical, sexual abuse, trauma, somebody got arrested, those kind of things, 4 or more, you have a 70% chance of getting a chronic disease as an adult. Well, in this study, published in Psychosomatic Medicine in 2009, called Cumulative Childhood Stress and Autoimmune Diseases in Adults, is they found that 2 or more adverse childhood events significantly increased your chances of getting admitted to the hospital with an autoimmune disease. An 80% increased chance of being admitted to the hospital with an autoimmune disease of all kinds, except the rheumatologics, such as rheumatoid arthritis and ankylosing spondylitis, for example, where there's a 100% increased chance. You double your chance of being admitted with an autoimmune disease with just 2 or more. So she's thinking to herself, geez, as the patient, I was in a kind of a tough situation as a child. My parents got divorced. There's a lot of verbal abuse. My dad, substance abuse. So she has 3 adverse childhood events. And she has this ANA that's positive. You go, oh, you can see where she's going. She's going towards a hospitalization with autoimmune disease. But then you think about her children, her 2 young children. They're the product of divorce. Their father was very verbally abusive. They already got 2 adverse childhood events. So you tell her, as a practitioner, well, we know that you're much more likely to get rheumatoid arthritis and lupus and those kind of things in the next 10 years because of your positive ANA, but because of these adverse childhood events that you had, you're very much likely to be hospitalized with an autoimmune disease. So you have a bunch of things going against you. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the right testing. We are going to figure out why your ANA went positive. We're going to address what we find. We're going to make it go negative, and then we get to say, oh, good, you're not moving towards rheumatoid arthritis and lupus anymore. We got your ANA to go negative. But also, we're going to incorporate some work with our licensed clinical social worker that I know really well, and she's going to work with you on managing stress optimally and making sure that these adverse childhood events don't drag you down later in life. Now, I want to mention in this subject Tim Ringgold, music therapist extraordinaire. Now, Tim is doing some amazing things with people with addictions and using music therapy. Now, a lot of people with addictions have adverse childhood events. You tend to do a lot of substance abuse. One reason is you don't really have a great way of saying no to some of your impulses. Those impulse control issues because of some of the brain changes in the amygdala and the hippocampus that comes from these adverse childhood events. So Tim Ringgold, music therapist extraordinaire. If you haven't checked him out yet, you got to check him out. He's doing wonderful things. Have a nice day.